Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 16th legislative session of York City Council. Would you please call the roll, Madam Clerk?
Rivera.
Here.
Washington.
Here.
Ritter Dixon.
Here.
Walker. Walker.
Here.
Nixon.
Here. And we're all accounted for. We need to approve the minutes of February the 2nd. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as they were distributed? Hearing none. All those. Is there somebody? Oh, no, there's a background music, background noise. Anyway, is all in favor of approving the minutes as distributed? There's a terrible amount of. All in favor of approving the minutes of February the 2nd, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. We have a presentation from Melanie Baldwin about a special grant. Please go ahead, Ms. Baldwin. You'll have to unmute.
Thank you, President Nixon, and to the entire council. I will share my screen and we will be out of your way as quickly as possible. So good evening to you all. My name is Melanie Baldwin. I am the grants coordinator for the wonderful city of York. And what I'm bringing to you today is the Choice Neighborhood Program. And that is done through the Department of HUD. It's done through HUD. And the Choice Initiative it's a program that leverages significant public and private dollars to support locally driven strategies. In our case, it is a partnership between the Housing Authority and the City of York. And so it is a way for us to unite the city, which is why the project itself is called Unite York. What you'll hear from us this evening, this is a very small agenda. I have the wonderful Regina Mitchell here with us as well, and she will be discussing housing. And there's three components to the actual grant. It's housing, neighborhoods, and people. And so I am also going to make sure that you can see the initiatives. So I put them in very small categories. One thing I do want to make sure that you do see is that we do have a website. Well, we have an email address for any questions, any clarifications, any concerns, and it's askcni@yorkcity.org. Once again, it's askcni@yorkcity.org. And so without further ado, Ms. Regina, Mrs. Mitchell.
Good evening, Council. It's good to see everyone. I actually miss you guys. It's kind of odd seeing everyone through Zoom now, but as we look at this initiative for Choice Neighborhoods, the mayor and Melanie, Ms. Baldwin came to me and said, we have this grant. It's actually a two-phase grant. One is a planning grant, and the other one is a implementation grant. The planning grant actually allows us to put a solid plan together. The implementation actually allows us to implement the plan that benefits all of York, the city of York. And the housing component, it is built around public housing. We have to show that there is a need to do updates to the public housing inventory of the designated neighborhood, and it has to be a family development. So it cannot be just a senior high rise is, we would think the easier choice, but we would include both the family portfolio and a senior portfolio in the housing plan. And what it does, it allows us to be a very well-managed and financially viable. And when I say financially viable, it can actually take us out of the public housing subsidy appropriations arena, where we are managing affordable housing just like we would manage market rate housing, and have the reserves and have up-to-date housing portfolio that meets the needs of our community, both in our family and senior development. It would become mixed income. As most of you know, public housing is a deeply subsidized housing program for low to moderate households. But this actually would allow us to mix and put some low, moderate, and even market rate units in some of our portfolio, which is a great idea. And when you get a chance, you want to talk to me about it, feel free to reach out to me. And because it actually helps us support better and improve low-income housing. Well-designed, it will allow us to really look at the design of the units, design of the portfolio. And when I say just not the portfolio, but it's not just the buildings, but also the land and green space around the buildings and around the portfolio that we use as parks, tot lots, and all of the other things, and the green spaces that the seniors use here at Broad Park. So it allows us to actually update the building interior and exterior and all of the amenities around the buildings. Be free from discrimination, and that's one thing we as a community we're going to embrace in this grant process, is how to include everyone in the process, how to include and teach landlords how to become the better landlords in the process of this grant, both in the planning and implementation phases of it. So it actually enhances our low-income housing stock, and especially our public housing, or what we call federally subsidized housing stock here in York and the designated neighborhoods. Melanie?
So as we move into neighborhoods, there are 4 opportunities or criteria that we have to meet in making our neighborhoods, which are public and private investments in neighborhoods. And so we have already had 2, for lack of a better term, stakeholder meetings or partnership meetings, because we want the city involved. And one of the reasons that we're coming to you to make sure you're aware of it is that we want to make sure that anybody who wants to be in can get in. It is not exclusive for just housing authority or, for lack of a better term, upper level business owners. It's for all of us to be involved. And some of the amenities we have to have in the neighborhoods, looking at the parks, looking at the food deserts, we want to make sure that we have those types of things in building up York, having effective public schools and having great safety measures. The team that is the inner team, the CNI team, if you hear me say that word, is from various departments. We have representatives for the city of York, and then we have Regina and her team. And we work together. We have weekly meetings, and we communicate a lot. We have Google Docs and SharePoints, and we also are involved with a partner. Our partner is the Ferguson Group, and the Ferguson Group is based in DC, and they have done a lot of grants, specifically like the Choice Neighborhood Grant. They've had success with the planning grant and the implementation grant. The planning grant is for $450,000, and the implementation grant is for $35 million. So it's an opportunity for us to invest in our communities, and it has to be the entire community. And then we get to the people part. And the people part is effective education and employment opportunities. So we are not building for someone else, we are building for ourselves, making sure that people within the city, or we are attracting businesses to the city that want to invest in York. They have to have a belief that we're something special, because we are. As most of you know, I am not from York, but I make sure that I have the best interest of York at heart. And so when I found this grant, it just seemed as the best opportunity for us to come together, unite York, the West Side, East Side, or however we decided to do it, to make sure that everyone's involved. And so those are the three components of the presentation. We have not gotten any funds yet. We are working tirelessly to make sure that everyone is involved. And if there are any questions, I can take them now. But I want to actually make sure that you have the email address, which is askcni@yorkcity.org.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You are so very welcome.
Ladies, both of you, appreciate your coming this evening and sharing this with us. Good luck. Let's hope that we get this grant. It would be a formidable thing if it actually materializes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. And the next, we need to announce the next meeting, which will be March the 2nd at 6 o'clock. And it will be a Zoom meeting. And all agenda items for that meeting are due by noon on February the 24th. We will now proceed with the legislative portion and final passage of bill number 5.
And that was bill number 5, introduced by Lou Rivera at the February 2nd meeting of council. A bill amending the 2019 CDBG CV COVID-19 program budget to reflect changes resulting from allocating additional funding amounts in the 2020 budget.
So introduced.
Moved, I think you did introduce it. It would be moved to adopt.
Move to adopt.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item by council? Is there any discussion? Are there any hands raised or discussion from the public?
Nothing here.
Nothing received here either, Council President.
Thank you. Then please call the roll.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington.
Abstain.
Okay. Are we going to, Jason, do we need to do the whole thing again?
No, I think council right at this point can just, Councilwoman Washington can tell people why she wants to abstain. Council can do a vote on it, and then we'll start the vote over.
I believe we already did this, but we'll go again. Would you, Ms. Washington, would you please explain why you would like to abstain?
Sure, I would like to abstain because the funding's benefiting my employer.
Very good. All those on council that are in favor of allowing Ms. Washington to abstain, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Very well. We'll start the vote over again. Madam Clerk?
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Abstain.
Ritter Dixon,
Yes.
Walker, Nixon,
Yes. And that is so ordered. Next, we have introduction of a bill.
Introduced.
and that is bill number 6, introduced by Sandy Walker, a bill approving an asset purchase agreement with the Pennsylvania American Water Company for purchase of wastewater treatment plant.
And since this is a bill, it will sit until our next meeting on March the, is it 2nd, I believe?
March the 2nd.
March the 2nd. And at that time, we will have discussion. It permits council to have 2 weeks or a little bit less to review the asset purchase agreement as well as the public. I believe it's online.
It is.
Go to yorkcity.org and look for the asset purchase agreement if you are so inclined. So next we have, before we consider a consent agenda, I would like to know if there's any item that any member of council would like to pull for further discussion. I'm not hearing any. So if we could have a motion to consider a consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have a consent agenda for items number 3 through 7.
I will call the roll on the consent agenda, and that is Rivera, Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ritter Dixon,
Yes.
Walker,
Yeah.
Nixon.
Yes, that's what we'll be doing. Before we actually take a vote on these items, is there anything from the public, the way of email or a hand up?
Nothing received by the city clerk.
Nothing here.
Very well. All those in favor of a consent agenda for items number 3 through 7, please, we'll call the roll on that one.
And this is a motion for approval of items 3 through 7 on the agenda.
Correct.
Rivera,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Ritter Dixon,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Nixon.
Yes, and they are so ordered. Is there any comment from council on any item? Oh, hearing none, I would like to make a quick comment. Some of you may have read a letter to the editor that I wrote, and it listed my name and York City Council beneath it. I was very clear in my written statement to the newspapers that I was writing as a citizen of York, I was not speaking for council. I do not speak for council. This was a personal opinion and a letter that I wrote for my own wanted viewpoint. So I apologize to council if anyone felt that I was speaking for them. That was certainly not the case. The newspaper simply took the liberty of saying that I was on York City Council. So hearing that we have no other comment from the council, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to share a couple of online events for tomorrow. There's an 8th, and this is the York County Economic Alliance is having an inclusive business webinar at 8:30 tomorrow morning. You can find the link at the Mayor's Monday Message, which is now on the City of York Facebook page. The link will be there to get on the webinar. But Melissa Plotkin will be joining us and discussing some tips of how to improve your business outreach and make businesses welcoming for everyone. And then at noon, YCEA is also having a virtual career fair with some tips on how to improve your job prospects. So there are a couple things that are coming up tomorrow. And again, if you're looking for the Mayor's Monday Message, we're going to try and keep them on the City of York page because that allows people to have the closed captioning that can be translated into many languages. I don't know about every language, but many languages through the computer. And we thought that would give better access to folks. So I think that's all I have for today, other than Happy Fat Tuesday, Fastnacht Day, Mardi Gras, and a blessed and solemn Ash Wednesday to everyone.
Thank you, sir. This meeting is adjourned.